and they may sell $300,000 or whatever it is that they're selling in just 1 week. Now, they're way off course. The self-image picks up the deviation from the set goal, it feeds it into the coordinating mechanism, which is the nervous system, and that behavior starts to change until they're back on course again. At the end of the year, all they've sold is 1 million. They may have had a week at 300,000, but they've still just sold 1 million. Now, what we have to do is take responsibility for the results we're getting. You've got to take total personal responsibility for your results. The cause of your present results is the self-image, which is resident in your subconscious mind. This book does not cover how your present self-image was formed. Our only focus is on how to improve the self-image. We've explained in detail how and why you hold your present self-image in another book titled You Were Born Rich. If you haven't read it, I recommend you get into it because there is a lot of deep information in there that will really help you understand yourself better. But for the time being, you can change your results by improving your self-image. Starting right now, you must forget the past and take responsibility for the present. Let the past go. Now, that's not the easiest thing to do, but mentally release it. Begin immediately to plant a beautiful new self-image, a winner's image, in your subconscious mind. Just follow the instruction in this book, and your results will improve immediately and forever, as long as you operate with a winner's image. Page 18, your winner's image. Do I have what it takes to be a winner? I have a lot of great ideas, but I never get any results. What do I have to do to change? Questions. We ask ourselves dozens every day. We reinforce poor self-image and we perpetuate self-doubt. What a waste. The time to be a winner is now, not tomorrow. The key to being a winner is to improve your self-image. Aldous Huxley said, "There is only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and this is your own self." I'm here to help you create a winner's image of yourself. Take a look of Leyland Val van der Waals' concept of the learning process. Writing causes thinking. Thinking creates an image. Images control feelings. Feelings cause actions. Actions create results. As you go through the various exercises in this book, we're giving you a good reason to write them out. Don't just pass them off, as your old image would dictate, saying, "I'll do that later." Get your pen out and get to work. Page 19, commitment. We're going to review commitment at this point. You could be in the habit of skipping over the detailed part of a project, assuming the details are not overly important. Many times, they may not be very important. However, that is certainly not the case in this project. The details are vitally important. Taking the time to complete each exercise will solidly plant a winner's image in the treasury of your subconscious mind, and your life will never be the same again. Make a written, signed commitment to use this ebook as instructed every day for 90 days. This is my binding commitment to your winner's image self-help program. Signature put here. Now that you have your commitment written out and signed, make certain that when you put your good name on the signature, it means something. There are a number of things we're going to have to discuss because everything has a beginning. If you drive, you had to learn how to drive, and if you type, you had to learn how. The same is true for successful living. When you learn how to do something, you begin by learning the basics and then diligently working with those basics until you have them mastered. Although you may be impatient in the beginning because of your desire for improved results. Understand that the time you invest to master the basics will pay great dividends in the long run. Mastering the basics of building a winner's image is the same as laying a strong foundation upon which you build a skyscraper. Stop and think. In almost every large city that you go into, when you go downtown, you'll see a board fence up around maybe 2 or 3 square blocks, and they seem to be there forever. Every now and then, you may go and peek through the crack and you'll see large equipment and all kinds of workers in there. And it just seems like those boards are going to be there forever. Then one day you go downtown and there's a 100-story building standing on that spot. You say, "Where did that come from?" It took months to build the foundation. The superstructure went up overnight. You may want to realize that exactly the same is going to work here. It may take a little while to do these exercises. but you're going to find that the results will change virtually overnight. At the bottom of page 17 in the workbook, we have a diagram of a highly successful person with a winner's image rooted in every molecule of their being. Remember when we pointed out that mind is movement and body is the manifestation of that movement? As you sync that winner's image in your subconscious mind, it affects every part of your body, and your behavior is going to begin to change. You're going to start to form winning actions, and you're going to get the results you choose. Let's get into the point of how we create that winner's image. We're going to get into the basics of building a winner's image, a 3-point program, fantasy, theory, and fact. There are 2 phases which must be completed in the process of building a new self-image, a winner's image, which will cause you to think like a winner, feel like a winner, act like a winner, and be a winner. You must personally put each of these phases through 2 tests. If each phase does not pass the test, you could very easily sell yourself short and not properly complete each phase. Imagine being very hungry, tasting the appetizers, but then leaving before the main course is served. It wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense, would it? Well, let's not do that with this new self-image. Page 22, the fantasy phase. Now we'll learn about phase 1, the fantasy. Everything that has ever been accomplished by anyone at first, and for a time, was a fantasy. The fax machine, the phone, and air travel, they were all fantasies long before they became realities. Thomas Edison fantasized and illuminated the entire world. Alexander Graham Bell fantasized and then connected us all together. The Wright brothers, they fantasized and then brought us closer together, causing our perception of the world to shrink. Everything begins with a fantasy, and I can remember when this program was a fantasy. It was in my lifetime that changed. The first step calls for you to do the same as those famous people did and choose your fantasy. Pick a highly successful person whom you admire and whom you can emulate. You should pick someone you know, or possibly someone you have read about who lives the way you dream of living. Use them as a model to help you mentally build your fantasy. Now, a lot of people are going to tell you that this is crazy, to be fantasizing like that, and that you should get on with your life. Those people aren't going anywhere, so don't follow them. Instead, listen to these instructions. I've often said I have the license to brag about all these ideas, because none of them are mine. I've just picked them up from winners from the past, but I have put them back to work, and they work beautifully. My life has changed dramatically from this program, and I have done what I'm suggesting you do right now. As a matter of fact, I'm continually doing it. So name 6 people who are doing what you would like to do or who are living as you would like to live. After you've listed their names, choose the various aspects of their lives that appeal to you and mentally put yourself in their position. Don't be afraid to do this. Just sit back, relax, and let your mind take off. As you do this, be aware that you can see with your inner eye a beautiful vision with yourself in it. Fantasies are created in your conscious mind through the aid of your imagination. Napoleon Hill said that imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force that the world has ever known. And anything that we have ever accomplished, we have accomplished first and foremost with our imagination. It began as a fantasy. So, sit back and relax and let your imagination take off. It's very important that your fantasy or image be complete. Use as much detail as possible. You could feel that this is a foolish waste of time. Do it anyway. Let this fantasy be built in your mind. Make it absolutely beautiful. Begin to see yourself happy, healthy, and wealthy with all the money you need. Life should be a magnificent adventure. It should never be a bore. And if you want to change your life and make it a real interesting journey, this is where it begins. So, don't be afraid to build the fantasy. Get it going really well. Here are a few questions you could ask yourself about these winners that you have already named. These are answers that are going to help you build your fantasy. How do they dress? What do they study? How do they manage their time? Who do they associate with? How do they meet and greet people? How do you and others view them? What income brackets are they in? What is their personal life like? What is their home life like? What is their home like? What kind of automobile do they drive? Are they a self are they a service-oriented person? Are they recognized in their industry? Make up some more questions of your own and apply them. When you've done that and you have your fantasy built, paint with words the vision you see. Make a detailed, written description of your fantasy. Begin. This is my fantasy. I am so happy now that I am. Let me repeat. On top of the line, begin by writing, I am so happy now that I am. We are writing our fantasy in present tense. Now, we're going to be testing your fantasy. If you are not well read in the area of mind dynamics or the creative process, these various exercises could appear to be ridiculous. Nevertheless, they do work and they will work for you. You are building a winner's image, which will enable you to live the life you have only been dreaming about. Page 25, the theory phase. To turn your fantasy into a theory, which is the next step, requires a shift in your attitude. You must begin giving serious conscious thought to your fantasy. This is not a game. It is your life you are working with. A German engineer by the name of Carl Benz had a fantasy and literally turned his fantasy into a fact. In January of 1886, Carl Benz was issued a patent for the Benz motor carriage, and the age of the automobile had dawned. Long before Benz ever turned his fantasy into a theory, even long before he turned it into a fact, he had to ask himself a couple of questions that you and I and every other dreamer will have to go through. He had to ask himself, am I able to do this? He seemed to have that innate awareness of this higher self, this image of perfection within him, and he saw himself as a person that was actually able to take the fantasy and turn it into a fact. He must have been a pretty courageous guy, because there were no horseless carriages in those days. But then he had to ask himself, am I willing? You see, he had to ask himself, am I willing to accept the ridicule that I'm bound to get? Am I willing to accept the failures? He said, yes, I am willing. He was willing to pay the ultimate price to turn his fantasy into a fact, and ridicule he got, his own partner thought he had gone mad. And he had to find a more congenial colleague to work with. He would take the carriage out in the evening at night so no one would see him to escape some of the ridicule, and time after time, he couldn't get it going. He had to put it back. But it never dawned on him that he would not ultimately realize his dream. When this magnificent machine completed its first long journey with bends at the wheel, every beat of the engine found an answering echo in the heart of the driver. As every turn of the wheels brought him closer to his goal, the realization of what once was a fantasy. Now, in order for you to turn your fantasies into a fact, you have to go through exactly the same process as Carl Benz. And if you go through the same process, you'll meet with exactly the same success, regardless of the opposition you might come against. You have to ask, am I able to turn this fantasy of mine into a fact? Can I actually realize it? Can I turn my dreams into a reality? Page 27, am I able? Am I able? That is a good question. Are you able to live your life in the manner which your fantasy suggests? Well, are you? Answer yes or no. This is the point in life where every winner has separated themselves from the masses. The facts or circumstances clearly indicated they could not win. We are referring to the present results they have in their lives, the results that were controlled by their old self-image. However, the winners have ignored the facts and turned all of their conscious attention into their fantasy. The fantasy became real in their mind. It turned into a theory. The vision was so stimulating they could only think of how they could live their dream. There was no room in their mind for thoughts of why they couldn't, and they became willing to do whatever was required to turn their theory into a new set of facts in their life. You are able, definitely able. There is no one alive who can even guess with any accuracy at the magnitude of your potential. You are a spiritual being. For you, all things are possible. Now, you might not believe that. If you haven't studied this in depth, just take my word for it. You've got nothing to lose. Our objective is to figure out how, not whether we're able or not. Obstacles are only illusions. But the obstacles cause us to have doubts in our minds. Are we really capable of doing this? If you just form the attitude that every obstacle is an illusion, you will be able to figure out how to get around them, over them, or how to get to where you want to go. You're able to do anything. So get the idea of whether you're able to or not right out of your mind. You're quite capable of doing anything that you want to do. You can turn your fantasies into facts, just the same as Edison or Carl Benz did. Page 28. Am I willing? The question you now want to ask yourself is, am I willing? Am I willing to do whatever is required to realize my dream? When you can instantly answer yes to that question, you've built a theory in your mind and you're well on your way. That question is truly the only question you need to ask yourself about attaining a winner's image. Am I willing? This is the only question of any real importance, which requires an answer. To make your fantasy into a theory, are you willing to make sizable investments in yourself? Now I can personally admit that I've flown all over the world. I've attended countless seminars. I have thousands of dollars invested in books and programs of this nature, and every one of them have paid me great dividends. Losers are not willing to do that. Again, are you willing to make sizable investments in yourself? Now, this isn't only an investment of money, it's going to be an investment of time and effort. Are you willing to invest the time and the exercises in this book? Are you willing to go where you have to go? I have found it necessary to move to a couple of different continents and a number of different cities to turn my images into realities. Some people don't want to move. Are you willing to go where you have to go? Are you willing to do what you have to do? Remember, you have to do what is required. Are you willing to change what you have to change? You may have to change your personal appearance. You may have to change the mood swings that you experience. You may have to change the way you approach people and the way you treat some of your peers. Are you willing to let go of what has to go? Remember, nature abhors a vacuum. If you're going to get something new, you have to create space for it. You have to let go of that old image before there is any room for the new image. Are you willing to move where you have to move? Are you willing to study what must be studied? Are you willing to take direction when it is required? A person could never be an effective leader if they're not an effective follower. If a person cannot follow direction, they're never going to be a professional at giving directions. Are you willing to continue in the face of failures? Stop and think of Sir Edmund Hillary. He went to Mount Everest in Nepal in 1951. It took a lot of preparation, a lot of money, and a lot of resources for that, and he failed miserably. He did not get up the mountain. Did he quit? Not on your life. He went back again in 1952. He failed again, but he never let his failures affect him as a person. He didn't see himself as a failure. He just realized a way that he couldn't get up the mountain. He went back again in 1953. And as far as we know, in 1953, Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzin Norway were the first two to ever get to the top of the mountain and get back down alive. Are you willing to experience failures like that? Are you willing to commit yourself 100% to living the way you choose to live? If I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me I think my wife thinks I should be. Not the me that I think you think I should be. Not the me I think my children think I should be. If I want to be really free, I've got to be me. Are you willing to possibly even accept ridicule, humiliation, and rejection as a part of the price to win? Every winner will tell you that they've received ridicule, they've been humiliated, and they've been rejected, but they were willing to accept that as a price of winning. If your answer is yes to these questions, a resounding, yes, I am willing, you're ready and you're on your way to being a winner. The material changes must by law follow. You're going to be tested many times every day. Becoming a winner in life is not easy. It's simple, but it's definitely not easy. It requires rigorous honesty and an abundance of courage. The moment you answered the question about your willingness, your fantasy became a theory. You are now ready to turn your theory, which is really a dream, into a whole new set of positive facts in your life. Congratulations, let's keep going. Page 37, a quick review. Now we'll focus on firmly implanting the winner's image system in your mind. And we'll start by reviewing what we have done. Number 1, you have created in detail a fantasy composite of your new self-image. Number 2, you affirm that you are capable of living your life in the manner that your fantasy suggests. Number 3, you have confirmed your willingness to work at transforming your fantasy into your new self-image. Now, your objective is to deeply plant and root the vision of your winner's image into your subconscious mind, and keep nourishing it through positive input until your new winner's image wrestles control of your life away from your old self-image. This winner's image system has a daily program to assist you in achieving your winner's image. Take a look at the drawing at the top of the page 31 and the workbook. There's a graphic illustration of what we discovered. You built a winner's image. Now your old self-image is still in control of your subconscious mind, but the system we're laying out for you will change that. Here's a beautiful quote from Leland van der Waal, whom I consider my teacher. It is a quote I think we should focus on as we move on to our 5-point program. Doing at once what needs to be done will ensure the possibility of success. Page 32, 5-point program.